secretary in our office, one of our counselors, a teacher. They read the book also, and then they took the time, and I'm not a part of this. This is them individually. So they use a lot of initiative, and they all got together at different times and met with their group. And they all read the book. And some of these kids are like, I've got to read it because everyone will know if I don't. Because if there's only 5 people in your group, they're going to know you've read. So the readers were done in 2 days. Not so much in the reading group, had took him a little longer. But that was just the basic format up front. And then we wanted them to kind of share what they had learned. And we just threw them at they did go well. But this year, it was really great. We said, we want you to come back to the classroom, not to tell us about the book you read, but about the topic this book covered. So after they read the book, they went and learned more. So, for instance, kids who read The Curious Incident of Dog in the Night went and learned more about Asperger's and autism. And then, on top of all that, they all went and learned how to do a Prezi. And I can tell you, teenagers can learn Prezi. You have to do a Prezi in 20 minutes. It's remarkable. So they were tasked to go back to the class. They come back to the class, make a presentation, teach us what they learned on the topic. So, and that's pretty much the only guidelines they had. So,
this is a group of kids who read The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls, and obviously has a lot of different issues in it, but poverty was the issue that they chose, and they just said it was.
So with really not us telling you at all was good, except you had to present the class. They, this group of 5 kids went ahead and did this and presented it in the class.
So just, kind of sharing about their different experience, what they learned, and then obviously getting an opportunity to fit into a bigger bubble. So just examples of students.
I couldn't believe, they went and found out local statistics, and for me, kids, if I had said, let's do a presentation on poverty, they never would have done it. But they read the book, then they wanted to tell us what they learned, and then they talked while they were doing this presentation.
And this is an example where they did, one student had been, I think he had went to
a reservation.
It's a mission work, and so he had that video, so they added that in here, they put the video and everything.
Yeah, they have a video.
It's pretty great.
They talked a little about what they learned from the book.
We're kind of flying through it with getting nauseous.
Prezi it does move in and out a lot, and you're like, wow. So, but of course, in teenagers, they immediately figured out how to do things that, like Kathy and I later go, how did they figure that out? This was really powerful. This was showing little people getting their power turned off in the winter. The kids in the classroom was just shocked by that. So anyway, then they finished with how to help. So we had no format. We did not tell them how to do this. They just put in with information and created it. Pretty exciting. They were really proud of stuff. So it's something we can save, and they all have access to them when you can get. Yeah.
And a couple other thoughts on that. I think the application is hopefully more vast than just your peer counselor. So if you're already doing a small group, bringing in books is a great way to kind of bring in an education component, bring in a camaraderie piece where everybody's kind of on the same page about stuff. There are books for just about every possible issue that kids are dealing with. So sharing those books and using that as sort of a foundation point is a great way to get started. Further, a lot of these groups are already happening in classes. All of my freshmen and all of the sophomores at Rocky are in some sort of a freshman or sophomore lit circle experience in either their geography class or their English class. So, and some of those, again, are some of these same issues-based books that are already on this list. So as we're talking about collaboration, what a great way to collaborate with a classroom project that's already going on. Going to that English teacher and saying, hey, I know you guys are reading Speak. Can I come in and do a guidance lesson on sexual assault, since everybody in that group is talking about that? So kind of maybe an into classrooms if people are already doing some of that stuff. Yes?
Do you have like a form that you send home for parents, like a consent form, some sort of something like that? Or do you need to?
I would be aware, but I have never, again, had any issues with stuff. I mean, again, high school is different, and but we have not had any issues around.
It's control books in our school library.
Yeah, I'm middle school, so it's really
Yeah.
Yeah.
So long, she always gets books they're in the media center, so, and got a grant to do the assessment book. That's the other issue. Many have to make copies of the book. And I have to say, counseling opportunities that come from this. I had a kid who was reading, if you haven't read Sweet and Beautiful Boys, two perspectives on a boy with a drug addiction and his father's perspective. This boy didn't have a drug problem, but he had problems with his father. So he comes to me and says, I read this book and I realized what I'd done to my father. And we had this long discussion. But I don't think would have occurred if he hadn't read this book. He read his father's book about his turmoil with his son. So I hadn't even anticipated those kind of things that would come from kids reading and then thinking about their own life.
And I think what was really successful when Kathy got the grant to do some of these book group pieces that you were calling them, right? Is that kids that sometimes we can't get connected to school, we're doing some of these book groups. You know, they were in there reading and we're like, wow,
The weird
found
library
that place
kids.
to, you know, connect with. So it's just one more thing when you're thinking, okay, you know, these are something we're struggling with, we want to connect them with someone in the building, and that was one place that they got.
And the grant was an incredible opportunity, and I was very fortunate in that regard. And these are popular young adult titles. And so, again, I don't know how other districts work, but I have access to every book in our district. So if I need a set of 5 of something, it's a pretty good guarantee that the other high schools are each going to have a copy, and will loan me those interlibrary loan in our library speak. But a great way to check in with your media person and say, hey, if I needed to get 5, 6 copies of this book, could we track those down? Or what books already exist in our English department? I mean, I can sometimes go down there and just dig through their closet. They've got whole stacks of things that, you know, oh, we're not doing that one this year, we're not going to read that anymore, or whatever, and pull a couple of those as well. Yes?
How frequently are the groups meeting then that you're pulling in a staff member or whatever to participate? So once a week book discussion? Or?
For the peer project, the students were assigned the book at the start of the month. They came in to the media center. I shared with them about the different topics. They got to choose which of the 5 books they wanted to read. And then they had a month to complete the project. So most of them read the book over that first 3 weeks or so, and then met with their staff person and their group just one time. So the idea was that the book would be completed by the time that they met.
So the staff member isn't meeting with them every time they're meeting to discuss
just that
the book?
one time for that final, hey, let's talk about the book now that we've concluded it. And I mean, there's tons of different ways to structure those kinds of things, but that's what we've done for the peer project.
If you're going to do a support group kind of thing, you could be growing meetings with your kids, you know, read these chapters and we'll incorporate that. You could do a week-to-week thing, but we didn't choose to do that.
Right, and I think a lot of staff members jumped on it with Sue Aston because it was, one, you had to read the book, I got asked to read the glass half, it was great, but then it was just, I was sort of a facilitator, just helped them have the discussion, so they had questions already from the discussion, but then I was able to help them a little bit deeper and talk about other things, and I learned a lot myself as well.
So yeah, again, a ton of collaboration opportunities, in particular around this book stuff. I don't know how your librarian is. Sometimes we kind of meet an odd stereotype. But I get thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled when Pam said, how can we integrate books into our school counseling program? So we're looking for an in as well. So it's nice to have people who want to collaborate with us and do some of that stuff. Yes?
How much time did you give everyone to read the book?
They had about a month. Yeah, the peer counseling class only lasted a quarter. So we kind of set it up that first month. That first week, they had a month to read the book, and then they presented their educational services that last week of the quarter.
So they're actually doing the meeting outside of class or during class for discussions? I'm not quite getting the picture of.
Okay, well, in my format, it depends on the setting. Okay, so in my class, we met 3 days a week. We're on a block schedule. And because these are juniors and seniors, they have a lot more freedom. So some of them met, we did not use class. Some of them, one group met at a friend's house, one of the girls' house on a Sunday. They brought food. They had a wonderful kind of gathering that way. Another group just met on the day of class in me. It takes about an hour and a half. Some kids met. I mean, they made it their way they wanted to meet. And then the staff person just let me know how they came, how they did, that kind of thing. So it depends on your setting. With our particular group, it was outside of class. But you could run these in a class setting if you wanted, kind of up to the forum. So, her book.
Yeah, and with book groups that we've done, and same kind of thing, we've done a lot of stuff either before school or during lunch. We have a late start day and we do stuff then. A great project that we did 2 years ago was called Coffee Hours. And we, once a month, would have a coffee hour, and it would be an issues-based coffee hour. So we would say, this month our issue is eating disorders. And I would get in touch with a handful of various community folks. We had private practice people, people from our Eating Disorder Resource Center. Several of the counselors would come over, and then we would invite students in, and we'd have coffee and pastries and some of that kind of stuff. Set up all of our media center comfy furniture in a sort of living room sort of format, and just sat around and talked. These experts would kind of share some of their experiences, and the kids had total freedom to ask questions of, how did you get into this field, what's been your experience with this or that, and then at the end of the time, I got to do my little librarian plug and pop up for a couple minutes and talk about some books that we have in the media center that related to eating disorders. So we've done some stuff on drug addiction. We had this drug addiction counselor that the girls all loved, so that was all very exciting. You all come see the drug addiction counselor, and he would talk about his experience, and again how he got in there, and then get to share about some of our literature that fits into that. So a great way for the counselors to get in with, again, and sometimes a different group of kids. It's not the kids that are hanging out in student services regularly. It's the kids who are hanging out in the library. It's a more diverse group. So.
How'd you determine who to invite to those?
KidWise?
Yeah.
KidWise is open invitation. So we would promote through posters and announcements and that kind of thing. There's a coffee hour in the media center. Come early to school and have treats, and this is our topic for the month. Yep.
Well, with that, what kind of attendance did you have?
We had typically between 20 and 30 kids for each one, so pretty successful little stint. Fun.
And I think what's so important about this, and I think a lot of you know this, when we keep talking all this technology, which more students are doing 24/7, but we just did kind of the Peace Circles event where students were talking more about things that they want from school and other ideas, and they kept saying, we really do want to talk more. And so I think these groups and, whether they're book groups or that coffee hour or something like that, they may be on their phones all the time and texting and something like that, but they really do want to communicate and talk, not only with other adults, but with other students. And so now we're kind of looking at where we go with that, but I think it's really important to mesh with the technology.
And that was a really fun way to get community folks in our building and start to collaborate with some of those resources. There's some great context that we were able to, and I mean, just kind of threw it out there got in touch with a couple of different folks every time. Hey, this is what we're doing. Is there any chance you could give us an hour of your Wednesday morning to be there for this? So anytime we can bring them in and collaborate, remember, I said that again and again. The last thing, again, that we're going to talk about today is this data-driven school counseling. I'm going to let Crystal share a little bit, in particular around Naviance, and I'm going to talk about how we've been doing some Google survey stuff and the way that we can collect stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're up there.
Do you want to go to, will you go to Google?
We haven't.
Okay, so I don't know what people's experience or how much you're using. I know you're using Google, but how much you're using Google Docs. Google Docs is a great resource. It's more or less an online server. So I very rarely use my jump drive anymore. I pretty much upload everything to Google Docs, and I can store stuff there. Everything is right there online. So. And it has a great survey collection and data tool. So if you go to Docs, there we go. And we'll scroll down here a little. This incoming fifth grade transition survey. So, comment Jose knows one. This is a survey that that was made for the middle school. So this is great if you don't have Naviance, which might be the case if you're at any level, or depending on what your school's doing. So if you go to form and then you go live form. There we are. Okay, so this is a survey that Tom and Jose, who gave to all the incoming 6